Okay, so Nancy, you were talking about your trip to Hawaii, and now you're in Hawaii, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I said about arriving there, didn't I?
Right. So what was?
We did hear me on the radio that night at 9 o'clock, I think it was. It's fun, kind of funny to listen to it. Because he asked me questions and I answered them, so it was easy.
So, how long were you in Hawaii?
Almost a year, but not quite. I came back for Pearl Harbor, thank heavens. But let me explain why I was there, because I was there alone. We hadn't been there very long, and Joe had been going out on the submarines and coming in on Fridays. And once in a while he had the duty, but if he did, then I'd go and have dinner there and stay and visit with him in the evening, and then go home alone. At any rate, he came home one day, and I don't think we've been there more, not even a month. He came home one day, and with a very long face, and I said, "What are you home for? What's wrong?" I thought he was going to tell me somebody in the family had died, you know. He said, I just got orders to go to Manila, to the Philippines. And I said, what? He said, yes. A ship came through and they had to leave their junior officer in the hospital in San Diego, so they asked him to pick somebody up off of one of the ships here and take him to Hawaii, to the Philippines, and he said somehow I got picked. So that was that. Anyhow, the officer, the captain of the submarine, said to him, I'm sorry, did you dispose of your car? Were you able to dispose of your car before you left? He said, no, I left it with my wife. He said, your wife, you were selected because you were listed as a bachelor. Oh. A little mistake that somebody made in the office, shall I say. I didn't lay eyes on my husband for 3 years. Of course, I'm glad I didn't know it then, really. So he went to the Philippines, and every now and then we would talk on the radio. I found somebody that could do this, and we arranged it. So we did talk on the radio now and then, which is sounds funny, but it was the only correspondence that we could have outside of writing letters. And what was so sickening to me was that he stood third in a class of 50-some people and got his choice to go to Hawaii, and the last ones in the line that were the lowest in the class had to go to the Philippines because they were left, and this seemed so unfair to me that he, had this wonderful idea of going to Hawaii and then got stuck onto the Philippines as though he was the lowest one of the class or something. And everybody knew that out there, and of course they assumed he was too, which was kind of, you don't go around bragging and saying, I'm not one of this other bunch, I'm stood third in the class when they were 50 or something. Anyhow, so that was that. You just had to swallow and take some things in the Navy, but that was a hard one. You were not allowed to take wives out there. It was why nobody ever wanted to go. I must say that I resented it at the time, but when Pearl Harbor happened, and then the Philippines had a Pearl Harbor there the next day, which the Americans hardly even knew about, but I knew about. I knew they would too. And let me see.
So let's go back. So you were in Hawaii by yourself for a year.
I was without a husband, but I had friends and things.
So when did you leave Hawaii?
What?
When did you leave?
I left the following September, October. I left before my birthday, which is in November, but I think it was late October that I left.
Okay, and so you left Pearl Harbor.
Well, they offered to send any of the ships, the wives home, whose husbands were in the Philippines, and they would pay the way, which was hard to turn down. So of course I took it, and I wasn't there for Pearl Harbor. I'm glad to say, because I knew what it was like out there, and I visualized the whole thing mentally in my head. It was awful, and I lost a lot of friends because in those days you could not marry until you had been out of the fleet 2 years. It was kind of a good rule because they had been so restricted for 4 years at the academy. They sometimes grabbed the first woman that got married, and they had a lot of unhappy marriages, and this is why they really did it. Plus, they wanted them to stay on the ship and learn things, you see. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't a bad rule. However, I knew the classes that came behind. They were the ones I dated because Joe had left the academy before I ever knew him, you see. So I had a kind of good time. I had 2 friends that would take me out to dinner and dancing. And, of course, I would have them over for a meal every now and then, which they kind of liked, or a group of party or something if I had some of my friends over. So it wasn't so bad for me, I don't really think, as it kind of was for Joe in a way, because I was entertained and so on.
And so, but you went back, you left Pearl Harbor, and where did you go?
I went home because the Navy would send me home, so I went to Charleston, West Virginia. I did not know at that time that my husband would be gone for 3 years, because you see the war broke out. I came out of a movie theater. I was in Norfolk, Virginia, visiting my aunt and uncle, who I was very fond of, and I came out of a movie theater with them.
Can you stop shaking the table?
Okay. I came out of a movie theater with them, and that's how I heard about Pearl Harbor. I didn't hear it in the morning the first day. We didn't have the radio on or something, and we'd go into a movie, so it was kind of shocking, and I hoped that everybody I knew was all right. It turned out they weren't. I could tell you something interesting after this is over about one of the friends that I had there, because he was on a ship and he was in the engineering department, and I knew that he would not survive because his ship was sunk and he was in the part that was driving it, so to speak. Anyhow, and they never reclaimed his body until last year. They had buried them separately in a massive grave, and then about 2 years ago they started thinking we better take those people out, see if we could get a DNA on them from somebody in the family, and his only sister gave a DNA for them, and they identified him. Out of the thousands that were there, he was the 35th that they identified and sent home to be buried. But it was sad, of course, because his parents were dead by then. But I read it, and I was very glad that this had happened. He was actually had been no boyfriend of Martha's, not mine. But we did like to dance, and when I went to the academy, he would always tag me to dance quite frequently because...
Was he the boyfriend that Martha and you were going to go see in Norfolk?
I don't know if he was or not. I just know that they dated.
Okay. So you went home to Charleston, and you stayed with your parents for the most part?
Oh, I stayed with my parents, or I visited my aunt and uncle in Norfolk, which I enjoyed, and we went to the beach in the summer too, like we used to. And my sister took me to New York one summer. She wanted to go to the school there to get something to do with her library.
So this is Betty.
To understand it. This is my sister Betty, my youngest one. And we had a wonderful time because for the first time in my life I saw shows on Broadway. She was so good to me. And we went to the World's Fair several times. It was there. And all in all, I could sleep late, you see. She went to school in the morning, came home around noon, and then we could do anything we wanted on the afternoon because she really didn't have homework with what she was doing. It was, I don't know what it was, something to do with her library. And
so then were, at this point in their lives, were any of your other sisters married?
Nobody, let me see. I think Jane and Noyes were married by then. This is funny. I'm almost positive I went to their wedding, but I don't remember much about it. Because I was in Charleston when they married, I'm sure I was. And Noyes had departed too as well, but Jane was pregnant and having a baby. So
wait,
that
Noyes had departed to go where?
What?
Where did Noyes go?
Well, he was in the Navy then too.
So he enlisted after college?
Oh, after Pearl Harbor, yes.
Okay.
Oh, he almost had to either do that or get in the Army. You didn't have much choice. He got in the Navy and then went to school somewhere, and she was with him for that. She took time off for her job, was with him for that. But he was gone at the same time. As I say, she was having a baby, so she had stopped working anyhow.
And she was going to have Rand, right?
That was her,
and that Rand was the first cousin.
Well, no, it wasn't. It was Rand, yes. That was my first niece.
Okay, Rand was your first niece, okay.
And I'm glad you know her. She's a nice person. And then, of course, Daly, who's down here, but temporarily taking care of her grandchild in another town right now. But she will be through in October and be back at her home again. And her son is home, so he's in the house. And that gave her a lot of, and I think she goes home some on the weekends because they take the baby Saturday and Sunday, you see, for the most part.
Okay, well, when we come back to our next session, we'll talk about what happened when Granddad finally got out of the war and saw Nancy again.
Okay.